Hey everybody, it is the Angry Honey Badger here, and it is time for Badger's picks for the week of February 23rd. We're going to see who's free this week and which 4 champions I'm going to recommend. To kick things off, let's go over who's free. That would be Aatrox, Annie, Brand, Elise, Kog'Maw, Lulu, Malphite, Morgana, Rumble, and Jhin. And as for my first champion recommendation, I am going to give it over to Jhin. Now, I don't think Jhin is actually the strongest ADC in the bunch. I think I put him in the B tier in the tier list. Not actually a terrible place to be, but he has definite power in certain situations, but I think he's hard to utilize that power is one of the reasons why I put him there. But I think he is fun to play, realistically, and since he is free, a lot of you may not own him. This would obviously be a great time to play him, and as I've always said, I always think it's important to play a champion you've never played before, so you know like what to do if you're against them, or if you may need to play them in the future. You just kind of get that handle on them up front. So this would be a great time to try him out this week since he is free. And I just made a new build for him, so check that out too. As for my second champion recommendation this week, I'm going to give that one over to Rumble. Rumble is a champion who's been higher up in the tier list that I think a lot of people have always been confused by. He's always been a pretty strong threat in top lane. Recently, we haven't seen him up there as much, but now he's getting a lot of attention in the jungle. He actually has pretty good jungle clear, solid gank since he always has slows with his E on those harpoons, and he's got, as I've always said and will continue to say, one of the best mid to late game team fight ultimates. He can completely annihilate teams with it if you're good at using it. I mean, that can be said with a lot of champion ultimates, but his just base damage stat-wise can really just absolutely tear through people. So it's something I think a lot of people don't utilize with him because I think a lot of people don't play him. Also, he does take a little bit to get down and how to manage his heat bar, so he's a little bit different, but if you want to try him out either in top lane or in the jungle, you should do that this week since he is free. My third recommendation for this week, I'm going to give that over to who is probably about the strongest jungler in the game, and that is going to be Elise. Elise is always been a fairly good pick, even when she was nerfed, like as we knew last season. She still was not terrible. She just wasn't picked like LCS all the time, but she still had relevant power. Now that they gave her back the duration on the cocoon time, she's always going to be probably making a lot of noise this season. So I think she's still a really, really strong pick in the jungle. The other nice things about Elise that you may not know or have overlooked just a little bit, besides her significant damage and her ability to gank successfully based on just all of her crazy kits, and she can do 18 million different things, is she's really good at not taking damage because of her spiralings. They can tank up the damage. This actually allows her to take objectives very easily by herself too. She can take early dragons by herself. She can go get the Rift Herald by herself too, because she can have those spiralings tank up the damage. So if you're looking for ways to increase your play, remember you can do those things with Elise, and that can actually kind of amplify the just kind of your output in the game, kind of make you a little bit better too. And there's some things to try out too if you've never done them. So play Elise this week. She is free. And as for my final champion recommendation for this week, I'm going to give that one over to Malphite. Malphite has been a new terror ever since Season 6 has kicked off. And the reason for this, he brings, and he's always brought this, is very solid initiations into the game. He can always get in and start a team fight, which can be difficult for some teams to find that opening. He just always has it available when his ultimate's up. The other thing that makes him very good is since we are seeing a lot of AD carries on teams, 2 or 3 of them at a time on an enemy team, he can just build tons of armor and pretty much negate everything that they're trying to do to him, and usually he has enough damage to deal with them because they're squishy enough that he can just sit on top of them and just deal consistent damage and just create problems for them to get their damage out. So he's very strong in that manner. A lot of people have asked me about Quinn, and is Quinn still super strong and broken? She is good, but one person that really shuts down Quinn is Malphite, and Malphite hasn't been seeing as much play as you would think. He is seeing more, I would say, but I think you could almost run him in almost every game. In some cases, he can be worked around, but for the most part, if they're running multiple AD carries, he should be somebody you should be picking up if he isn't getting banned. So try him out if you don't own him for some crazy reason since he's pretty old, but he's a solid pick this week. I recommend you try him out. those are the champions that are free this week. I actually like a lot of this week. There's a lot of good stuff in here. There's some good supports. Lulu's always been a good champion. Annie and Brand have always had significant damage output. Kog'Maw's even in there if you don't own him, and his recent buffs that have made him much better than what he used to be, so he's been slowly climbing back up. So pretty solid week overall. Let me know who you are going to be playing this week down below in the comments. And if there is a box around any of these champions portraits, as always, you can click on it and it'll take you to a build and guide of some sort for that champion. But other than that, I wish all of you the best of luck this week on the Fields of Justice.